What if the heaven you've been waiting for was never meant to be found, only forged? What if the ache you carry, that quiet dissatisfaction you can't explain, isn't a flaw in you, but a signal? Most people spend their lives looking upward, toward promises made by others, toward meanings handed down, pre-shaped, unquestioned. They call it hope. But beneath it, there's often fear. Fear of choosing wrong. Fear of standing alone with no guarantee. And maybe that's the real terror. Not death, not suffering, but the possibility that no one is coming to tell you what your life is supposed to mean. Sit with that for a moment, because if heaven isn't waiting, if it isn't pre-written, then you are free. And freedom is heavier than chains. We're taught to believe meaning is something you discover, like a hidden room behind the right belief or the right behavior. Follow the rules, endure the pain, stay obedient long enough, and one day it will all make sense. But what if that promise was never about truth? What if it was about comfort? A way to silence the anxiety of not knowing. Deep down, you felt it. That tension between who you are and who you were told to be. Between the life you live and the life that feels quietly unfinished. You try to ignore it. You stay busy. You stay productive. You repeat familiar narratives because they keep the ground stable. But at night, when the noise fades, something inside you asks a question you don't answer out loud. Is this really it? That question doesn't come from rebellion. It comes from honesty. And honesty is dangerous. Two systems built on certainty. We inherit meanings the way we inherit language, without consent, without examination. And at first, they feel safe. They give shape to chaos. They tell us who we are, what matters, where we're going. But over time, some of those meanings start to suffocate. You feel guilt for wanting more clarity, shame for doubting what once held you together, fear that questioning meaning means losing everything. So you split yourself. One part performs belief, the other quietly grieves. This is where most people live, not in hell, not in heaven, but in silent dissonance. And the dissonance leaves marks. You notice patterns, self-sabotage, emotional numbness, a constant sense of waiting for life to begin, an exhaustion that sleep doesn't touch. Not because you're broken, but because you're living inside a meaning that no longer fits your nervous system. Here's the truth few are willing to face. A preordained heaven removes responsibility, but it also removes authorship. If your meaning is already written, you are a character, not a creator. And something in you resists that, quietly, persistently. Maybe heaven was never meant to be a destination. Maybe it was always meant to be a state of alignment, when your inner truth and your outer life stop fighting each other. But alignment doesn't come from obedience. It comes from confrontation. You have to face the parts of yourself that learn to survive by hiding. The parts that learn to borrow meaning instead of building it. That process is not beautiful. It's disorienting, lonely, often terrifying. Because when inherited meaning collapses, there's a moment where nothing replaces it, just silence. And silence feels like falling. But what if that void isn't emptiness? What if it's raw space? Space where meaning isn't given, but shaped. This is where personal agency begins. Not as motivation, but as necessity. You start asking different questions. Not what am I supposed to do, but what feels honest, even if it scares me. Not what guarantees peace, but what allows me to live without self-betrayal. Tell me, when was the last time you chose something because it was true to you, not because it was approved? Forging meaning doesn't mean rejecting everything. It means digesting it, questioning it, keeping what strengthens your integrity, and releasing what requires your silence. This is slow work, uncomfortable work. You'll doubt yourself. You'll miss certainty. You'll envy those who never questioned because their world still feels intact. But something else happens too. Your pain becomes informative. Your fear becomes specific. Your choices start to feel owned. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you stop asking for permission to exist as you are. This is not happiness. It's coherence. And coherence heals deeper than pleasure ever could. There's a quiet strength in waking up each day knowing your life isn't justified by an external reward, but by the meaning you actively embody. You stop chasing heaven because you realize something unsettling. A promised paradise can distract you from building a life you don't need to escape. So let me ask you something, and don't answer quickly. If no ultimate reward was waiting, if no final judgment was watching, how would you choose to live? What values would survive once fear is removed from the equation? Most people never ask that because the answer would change everything. But change isn't destruction, it's clarification. And clarification feels like grief before it feels like freedom. In the end, maybe heaven isn't light or gold or eternity. Maybe it's this: living in a way that doesn't require denial, standing inside your life without shrinking, breathing without pretending. That's not transcendence, that's presence. And presence, when fully inhabited, is rare, quiet, earned. If this resonated, if something here unsettled you in a familiar way, you already know why you're here. Stay with that awareness. And if you want to continue exploring it, you know where to find us.